The world's largest bank just made a massive Bitcoin move. And the timing of this announcement is very interesting considering that this same bank predicted 160K Bitcoin by the end of the year. And they've also been talking a lot about the debasement trade and how it's going to be massive for Bitcoin and, of course, gold. But the real question is, will you be giving Jamie Dimon your Bitcoin? So let's get into this, guys. And of course, I'm not alone. I got Sophie here filling in for Nico once again. I think until Monday, probably until Tuesday. Who knows?
Probably until Tuesday.
Who knows? Anyways, guys, let me break this down for you guys so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So Jamie Dimon, or rather, JP Morgan, has been making a lot of moves, or rather saying a lot of really good things about Bitcoin. I will get into kind of my view on this a little later, but first off, let's start here. Of course, in the beginning of October, while we were all hyped up on, Uptober memes and everything going on, we did get this news about JP Morgan saying that Bitcoin will hit 165 by the end of the year. It was just when we hit 120K. There's still a lot of time left in the year, so this could still possibly happen. I know Uptober so far hasn't been the best. It's actually been one, I think out of the 16 years in Bitcoin, it's been like the third or fourth red Uptober. But hey, Bitcoin makes most of its moves in about 10 days usually. So we can really be holding on Bitcoin for a lot of nothing. And if you're missing out on those few days in Bitcoin, then you're really missing out on most of the gains. Okay, moving forward, we have this. Remember, I've been talking about this for a while. As Bitcoiners, we've been talking about this idea for the whole time of Bitcoin. The Lynn Alden memes of there's nothing stopping this train. There is the Larry Lepard memes of the big print is coming on the horizon. We've been seeing a lot of economic data come in, and we're seeing what's going on in the liquidity markets, and it's not looking so hot here. So JP Morgan has been calling for the quote debasement trade, essentially people moving out of the dollar and looking for something stronger to store their value in. And actually, interesting enough, the Google searches for debasement trade are at the highest level ever. And I like this little tweet here. It goes, half the people searching it probably just learned what the debasement trade means. So, hey, the memes are populating. People are starting to learn what is going on. At first, of course, they go around and they don't know exactly what this debasement trade means. They're looking at Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan. And they're like, what is he talking about? Jamie Dimon actually has been kind of a doomer. He is not that optimistic about where the future of the U.S. economy is going. And I think all of this combined is really interesting when you consider what their latest move is, which is obviously the big breaking news here for today. So I do have it here on Bloomberg, but again, I don't have a Bloomberg account, so I'll just read the headline. And it goes, JP Morgan to allow Bitcoin and Ether as collateral in crypto push. But I do have the Yahoo Finance article, which is open for everyone to see, and it is essentially quoting and saying the same thing. So I read both of them. It's essentially saying the exact same thing. So on Yahoo Finance, the headline is JP Morgan opens door to Bitcoin and Ethereum collateral for institutional clients. Of course, as we've been seeing, all the banks are lining up, trying to position themselves to get into Bitcoin, or rather get your Bitcoin is how I would take this. But this does give us a sense of legitimacy. Of course, Bitcoin has been on the outside of traditional finance for its whole existence, 16 years. And ever since the ETF was launched, ever since BlackRock got into Bitcoin, ever since Larry Fink said it was okay to hold some Bitcoin, you're starting to see the banks slowly but surely pivot their way into Bitcoin. Of course, now since Trump also got in, he has been saying we're going to have some regulatory clarity. We're no longer going to attack the industry. And I think this latest move is one of those interesting things. You can very seriously make a case for this being extremely bullish, and on the other hand, on a more like Bitcoin maxi kind of paranoid take, you can start to see what I've been saying. It looks like this might be the new attack from Wall Street. They're no longer going to fight Bitcoin. They're just going to find ways to get your Bitcoin, which is part of the conversation we've been talking about here in the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve of, quote, budget neutral ways to acquire Bitcoin. Anyways, let me read this a little bit. Of course, JP Morgan, one of literally the world's biggest bank by assets under management, will now allow its institutional clients to use Bitcoin and the mother of all shitcoin as loan collateral by the end of 2025. This move marks one of the most significant steps yet by a major traditional bank toward integrating digital assets into mainstream finance, reflecting growing confidence in cryptocurrencies as legitimate financial instruments. And I think just based off, on the surface level, before we kind of dive down different rabbit holes, I think this is kind of like the big takeaway is it is legitimizing Bitcoin in the eyes of TradFi, in the eyes of, individuals and Main Street, as this is a legitimate financial instrument. If you don't have Bitcoin, you're going to be left behind. So more kind of a bullish take on this is like, okay, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, they're trying to come into Bitcoin. They're legitimizing this thing. It's no longer just what he used to call it Larry Fink was calling like an index of money fund. I know he was there's been the Warren Buffetts of the world calling it rat poison squared. Jamie Dimon himself went out and said like Bitcoin is for money launderers and it's a pet rock type stuff. And slowly but surely, you have heard his narrative shifting, obviously, ever since the ETF was launched. And now we got to this point where, hey, maybe they might not like Bitcoin. Again, Jamie Dimon said he kind of looks at Bitcoin like smoking. You probably shouldn't be doing it, but he's not going to stop you from doing it if that's what you want to do. And that's kind of what his justification when they launched the ETF. He's like, I don't believe in Bitcoin, but hey, if my clients want to do this, then we're going to allow them to trade this product. Well, they've took it one step further. They are not just going to allow us to, trade the ETFs. They are going to use Bitcoin as collateral. And again, this is one of the big moves that Bitcoiners have been talking about for a long time. Maybe not just the average everyday, pleb Bitcoiner, because let's be honest, most of us probably don't have the assets to really take advantage of these collateral loans. But if you're one of the whales in Bitcoin, you have hundreds of millions of dollars stored up in wealth in Bitcoin. You obviously want to use that wealth some way, and integrating that into the traditional financial system obviously is beneficial. So, I'm not taking anything away from this. I really do think it is bullish, this idea of collateralizing your Bitcoin so you can get loans off of it. This is a financial product, and Bitcoin is a financial tool. And so eventually we will get there. And of course, like we partner with Ledin, which is just a pure Bitcoin company that does this exact same thing. So it is interesting that we are starting to see the competition be raised in this idea of Bitcoin being a collateral tool. So on that front, obviously extremely bullish because, hey, whether you like Wall Street or not, them legitimizing Bitcoin is good for every single one of us. So the next point is, of course, Bloomberg revealed that the program will be offered globally and will rely on third-party custodians to securely hold the pledged crypto assets. At the time, sources suggest the bank might begin offering crypto-backed loans sometimes next year. However, this latest update indicates that the launch could now happen by the end of year. So it sounds like they are accelerating this program. There's been rumors and conversations about this happening sometime next year. Now they're like, hey, we want to be the first one, the first big name to get to market with this product. And here we are. So Jamie Dimon taking a huge pivot here. And of course, this comes on the back of all of the other institutions getting into Bitcoin, notably, of course, BlackRock. Fidelity's been in the game. Even Vanguard slowly but surely coming around to Bitcoin ETFs. We have State Street, like all of the big institutional asset managers are now positioning themselves to get into Bitcoin. So whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think this is one of those moments, like I've been saying, 2025 is going to be the year where we did fundamentally get legitimized in the eyes of everyday people, in the eyes of the institutions. Again, the institutions are here, but this is probably where like the PSA comes out, and you just have to kind of acknowledge what could potentially happen here. And hence why I've been saying the last couple of days is like, look, Wall Street is here. And they realize they can't stop Bitcoin. So their next move is figuring out ways for them to get Bitcoin. And the best way for them to do that is to incentivize you to give up control of your Bitcoin. So it seems like these big institutions want your Bitcoin. Now, okay, I'm back. I don't know what happened, guys. The fight of our lifetimes is obviously ensuring that you do not give up your Bitcoin for yield or whatever shiny convenience product they offer you for. Obviously, I understand if you do a little bit of your stack, or maybe you want to use a little bit of your Bitcoin to better your life. Totally understandable. But it does seem like we are entering this era right now where they are trying to figure out any way possible for them to get a hold of your Bitcoin. So again, most of the Bitcoin is held in self-custody. If they can't stop Bitcoin, and we haven't got to the point of a 6102, some kind of give us your Bitcoin or else moment, the next best thing they can do is try to incentivize you to give up custody of your Bitcoin. And of course, who knows what happens later on when they control your Bitcoin. Of course, they did say specifically it's going to go to a third custody. And I'm always reminded of the white paper. This is like the whole idea of Bitcoin, is that you don't need the middleman. And now the middlemen are here, and they want to kind of insert themselves into Bitcoin. So on the one hand, extremely bullish. Bitcoin is a legitimate thing to be holding. It should be a part of your portfolio. On the other hand, there is a stark warning here. Do not be giving up your Bitcoin to the Jamie Dimons of the world or the Larry Finks of the world. If you really want to contend and figure out where we're going in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be just like the ICO craze, the shitcoin craze of the past. I like Bitcoin. Give me your Bitcoin. So, hey, that's the, what I've kind of been seeing. It does seem like Wall Street is here. They're really, I think, serious about Bitcoin. But I think they're serious about your Bitcoin. And so that's my concern.
Just a reminder that third custody is not your custody. And it's becoming very clear that buying Bitcoin is buying power. And the more Bitcoin you have, the more power, the more leverage you have. So now these governments, these institutions, they're trying to acquire as much as they possibly can, whether that's through seizure or through incentives. And so how are they doing this? They're doing this the way that they know how, which is by using the work of the backs of people. They are so accustomed to being able to take power by just printing money, and by taking that money and using it to make, dance, monkey dance, making all of us work for it and they get it for free, that they're trying to do the same thing with Bitcoin. They're saying, oh, give us your Bitcoin. We'll hold it under third party custody and we'll give you fiat, which is absolutely worthless. And they know that it's worthless. And they're starting to come around to that fact because they're realizing its value and absolute scarcity. So buying Bitcoin right now, it's a power play, it's a leverage play. And the only way to get away from fiat continuing to control us is to literally stack more Bitcoin. At this point, it's not so much about number go up. It's about accumulation. Take as much Bitcoin as you can while staying solvent, of course, and take it into self-custody. And you will see how you will be the person who's making them dance, monkey dance. That's the power that you want to hold when you're holding Bitcoin. That's how you want to start to turn the tables. And that is what they're terrified of. That's why they're starting to say Bitcoin can now be accepted as collateral. Bitcoin is now going to be part of a strategic reserve. On one hand, Opti's totally right. It is a way to legitimize Bitcoin. And I love that because we've been saying it all along. But at the same time, do not let go of your principles. Keep holding Bitcoin, stack as much as you can, because the day that they start owning the majority of it is the day that you will be found in the same position that we were before Bitcoin was ever discovered.
Sophie gets some horns today. Sophie gets some horns today. But yeah, totally. Again, guys, like, I know, me and Sophie were trolling about this. I know I've been a cynic all week. I don't know. Maybe it's how I'm just like, I'm tired, boss. Okay. Maybe I'm just tired. Okay.
It's the price.
It's the price.
The price has us sick in the stomach.
Yeah. But this is, I think, the fight that is the one that we're going to be in for a while now is, yes, we are being legitimized. Yes, we're having the biggest institutions in the world start to embrace Bitcoin. We have nation states starting to embrace Bitcoin. But part of that comes with obviously some trade-offs and some concerns and attack vectors. And so what we've seen throughout the history of Bitcoin is the safest place to hold your Bitcoin is under your control. And as much as a lot of people look at the Jamie Dimons or the BlackRocks of the world as, you know, or even FDIC insured backed loans and all that stuff as the most legitimate place to be holding your money, you know, a lot of people justify asset managers that, like, oh, we really need these guys. They're extremely smart. They know what they're doing, guys. They know what they're doing. But as we've seen throughout the history of finance, the history of Bitcoin, if you are putting your Bitcoin in exchanges or maybe some of these big bank institutions, potentially there's a chance, a non-zero chance of you losing that Bitcoin. And personally, I think that trade-off is a little too high for where we are going right now. And I wouldn't be trusting these guys. Again, let's not forget the 2008 financial crisis. I basically became an adult during the 2008 financial crisis. You know, I was 18 at the time and was graduating high school, and that happened. And every time we find something new happening, it seems like it's a pivotal point in my life, just like as I mature. But as we saw in the 2008 financial crisis, we know that the traditional financial system isn't as solid as they like to make it out to be. And if there is some kind of crisis in the TradFi system, well, let's just look at the past and realize that you will not get fully refunded. All your assets will be wiped out. The people that caused this, they'll basically get a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine, and they'll be able to continue doing what they do. So this is why you want to protect yourself.
What they hate is that you can't do that on a Bitcoin standard. You can't just get away with that sort of stuff, especially when the normal everyday person is holding Bitcoin. And that's why they are so desperate to hop on this bandwagon all of a sudden. Like, I love that saying, gradually, then suddenly. Suddenly is here. But don't forget that they are fighting us. They are fighting for control. These are people who are used to living a billionaire lifestyle, and they're not going to give that up for anything. They understand power dynamics. They understand that being in power means they are trying to get a leg up by taking your Bitcoin for free. Like, they don't have to pay for it. That's the thing. They just have to incentivize you and dangle, little trinkets in front of you with fiat and cheap interest rates. And then they can take the hardest asset that has ever been created. And that is where people need to be strong. You gotta not give these people your Bitcoin. Literally find any way you can to keep fiat mining, but under no circumstances sell your Bitcoin to these people, because they will use this power against you, whether it's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. They will use this power against your grandchildren. So keep your stack, hold your keys, hold the line, and, let them legitimize Bitcoin. Let them come to you. Let them beg for your Bitcoin, but do not give it up this easily. This is just the beginning of the fight.
Dude, Sophie's got bars. Sophie's got bars today. It's Friday. Sophie's got bars. Anyways, guys, of course, I am going to cut this segment a little short because it looks like Restream's acting up on me, so I need to refresh real quick. So I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to keep it pushing. Anyways, guys, I do want to give, or actually remind you guys to, of course, smash the like button, comment on the show, let us know what you think about the new studio, and of course, hit the subscribe button. You can watch Sophie dropping, fire content on the channel. Of course, Dante and Rustin and Oceans. We drop the most Bitcoin content, period. And of course, huge shout out to our boys over at the Bitcoin Well. If you want to buy Bitcoin, if you are sitting on the sidelines, if you're starting to see all of the stuff that we're seeing and you're concerned about what's going on in the world and you don't have enough Bitcoin, make sure you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply. Sign up to Bitcoin Well. They never hold your Bitcoin. There's never a possibility of them rug pulling your Bitcoin, and they have never lost Bitcoin because they never hold your Bitcoin. Once your dollars go through or your Canadian moose shekels go through, it goes directly to your Bitcoin cold storage. This is the best way to buy Bitcoin because you're never going to lose your Bitcoin. And that's what this is all about, taking Bitcoin into self-custody. Getting Bitcoin exposure isn't enough. You need to secure that Bitcoin correctly in cold storage, because who knows what's going on. If it's not your keys, it's not your cheese. And of course, scan the QR code if you're watching on the television. And when you sign up, you got 3 chances to win 1,000,000 sats, which is, I think, I don't know, $1,100 right now. I don't know what the current Bitcoin price is. Anyways, guys.
110.
Nice. There we go. Anyways, guys, again, I'm gonna hit the commercial. I'm gonna refresh. Hopefully this internet problem is figured out. So I'll be right back in a minute.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Alrighty then, guys, we are back, and the current Bitcoin price is, actually, let me refresh this. Current Bitcoin price is $110,460 per Bitcoin, which is a negative 12.4% decline from all-time high, and the market cap of Bitcoin is still $2.2 trillion, and the block height, TikTok next block, the only time that really matters is block height, and we are currently at 920,582. I repeat, 920,582. All right, guys. This one's kind of funny. Okay. Me and Sophie were laughing about this. I honestly thought this was AI when I was watching this. When I was watching this,
we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm so
as you guys know, yesterday we covered the story in the news about it's still acting up. Anyways, yesterday I covered the story about CZ being pardoned by Donald Trump. And, we broke it down, and we kind of talked about whether the Trump administration was really serious about all the things they're talking about Bitcoin. Today, we're not going to really take that same angle. We did get this clip from Donald Trump being asked about it. And no joke, guys, I thought this was AI this morning. I'm like, that can't be real. And so, hey, it's Friday. You love him or hate him. This clip is amazing.
This is like top 5 things he's ever said.
This is amazing. Anyways, let's play the clip and we'll come back and chat about it.
The founder of Binance. Can you explain why you chose to pardon him? And did it have anything to do with his involvement in your family's?
Who is that?
The founder of Binance. He has an involvement in your own family's crypto
one,
business.
Yes. I believe we're talking about the same person, because I do pardon a lot of people. I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people. A lot of people say that, are you talking about the crypto person? A lot of people say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything, that what he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing, you fake news. But let me just tell you that he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support. And they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime, that he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And
fact check, true. You know, love him or hate him, CZ. As much as people want to say that he's, you know, a shitcoiner and whatever, he didn't actually commit a crime. He just did something that the banks and the government like kind of looks down upon. But you can't really like point out to the actual law that CZ broke. So in my opinion, it was totally justified. Because like I said yesterday, eventually they're gonna use these things that they don't like against you. And Elizabeth Warren even fell into this trap. Shocker. She tweeted about how Trump released someone who was convicted of money laundering. Not true. He was convicted of not putting the proper rails for anti-money laundering on his website or whatever, on his exchange. And first of all, are exchanges even regulated? I mean,
yeah,
but was
they
it
should
based
be.
in, but was it based in the
No,
US?
it wasn't.
It wasn't based in the US, exactly. Second of all, does that make him the criminal, or does it make the people who were money laundering the criminal? Because if you believe the former, then you must also believe that Ross Ulbricht was also a criminal, which he wasn't. You can't go to jail for speech. You can't go to jail for creating, you know, a website or a platform. Like, it's the people who are committing the crimes that are the criminals, not the people who made the website.
Love it, so but I just wanted to play this more about just the Donald Trump. Like, look,
You don't know nothing.
you don't know
You're
nothing
fake
about
news.
nothing. You're fake news. Like, you don't know crypto.
You don't know crypto. You don't know
I
nothing
mean,
about
look.
nothing.
Look, love him or hate the guy. Sometimes he still has some funny clips out there, but the kind of more interesting part about this, besides the just fact that it was actually kind of like a hilarious savage response, is the
He hates Caitlin Collins.
I don't even know who that is.
That was the woman who asked the question.
Okay, got it.
She's awful.
But anyways, the question is what a lot of Bitcoiners have been saying on Twitter. It's the same idea. So she was asking him about the pardon and whether it had anything to do with the fact that CZ or Binance does have this partnership with World Liberty Finance, which is, of course, his his family's exchange here. And what it really kind of it is an interesting question, to say the least. And of course, there's a lot of ethics and stuff, and there's a lot of questions that can be asked about this. But apparently, Binance holds about $2 billion in World Liberty Finance stablecoin. I forget what it's called. It's WLFI. And those funds generate literally multi-millions of dollars by just sitting there. So the longer that CZ doesn't move those stablecoins, the more they accrue value. And I guess the number is somewhere around $80 to $87 million in annual interest that the $2 billion just chilling in World Liberty Finance accrues. And of course, the Trump family would essentially get like, I think it's something like $40 to $50 million a year while that deposit remains intact. So it is an interesting question. I don't really know the lady, and of course there's probably some bent there, and hey, this is probably why he snapped on her and kind of crashed out on her. But I don't know, that response was kind of classic, and I kind of love it. You know, I still love some of the Trump edits, whether you like the man or not, and all of his faults. Some of his clips are still just kind of hilarious. Like, you don't know nothing about nothing. You don't know crypto. You are fake news. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was kind of I literally thought it was AI, this one. I'm like, that can't be real. And Sophie had to fact check me on that one. So kind of crazy.
Yeah, let's see where that money goes. I mean,
it really goes into the whole idea of like, how serious are they about Bitcoin? They're making a lot of money because they're pretty serious about it.
They're pretty serious.
Incentives aligned.
They're pretty serious about taking your Bitcoin, and this is how you know that you should not.
Self is savage today.
I'm serious. I mean, I'm worried. I'm worried that people will have weak hands, especially at this price, because Bitcoin you know, has been reported to be severely undervalued, even by JP Morgan Chase, who had said a couple of months ago, I think, that it should have been at 160,000 by now. So if you said that a couple of months ago, imagine where we should be right now. I mean, we were all hoping that this would be Uptober. It's getting more and more suspicious.
It's Downtober. It's
It's
Rectober.
October. It's becoming more and more evident and suspicious to me, as someone who distrusts the government, that it's, you know, this might be price manipulation. This might be a way
Dude,
for
they're just giving us cheap sats because then they're gonna pump it.
they're giving us cheap sats, but we don't have the liquidity to buy it. So what happens? At the end of the month and in November, they are more than likely going to print more money. Life is going to become more expensive for us. That's going to do absolutely nothing for the regular person, but the banks are going to be able to borrow all of that money and just check it off, put it on their tab at lower interest rates, and they're going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. And sure, like, maybe that makes the price go up, but by that time, like, who's to say whether somebody sold because they needed to pay their bills, or, you know, stay solvent, or do whatever. It's a very dangerous time for the everyday Bitcoiner, and just my suggestion is always just going to be, keep your Bitcoin in self custody, keep stacking, even, and especially because, you know, it is massively undervalued according to JP Morgan. Just
According to me, it's massively undervalued.
who's the source? Me. I made it up.
Me. But I like this. It is Stacktober, Sophie. So it's cheap, so you can stack, guys. This is the signal here. Hey, you know, love him or hate him, if he is manipulating the price, at least he's given us some cheap sats. So look, in the long term, we're going to be looking back at this and be like, man, what a long year. But if it pumps by the end of Q4, I'm sure we're going to be super happy about it. So it is Stacktober. It is no longer Uptober. The year of 2025 is Stacktober. You should just be stacking Bitcoin. A lot of this is noise, to be honest. If your goal is just accumulating Bitcoin, you're getting cheaper Bitcoin. All of the crazy stuff really doesn't matter too much. Obviously, I think it did it again. Okay, hopefully it didn't pop me off. Anyways, it is an interesting time, and hey, cheap sats, it does seem like the price is consolidating very strongly above 100K. And I think it's just like boiling water, you know. At a certain point, we're going to see the fireworks. You just got to be patient, keep stacking, keep taking that Bitcoin into cold storage. This is the way. We all know where the long term of Bitcoin is going. It's going up forever, up and to the right. Yes. Now, is that going as quickly as maybe you want to? Probably not, but you probably shouldn't be making financial decisions where you need Bitcoin to double or triple so you can live your life. That's not what you should be doing. You should just be stacking Bitcoin and, you know, stacking Bitcoin and chilling. That's like the safest bet to do, but you got to make sure that Bitcoin is going into cold storage. So a stack of rice. I love that hard auto. Stack rice. There we go. All right, guys. So we also, at least in America, we got inflation numbers, CPI numbers in, and then we got record-breaking debt numbers, guys. And it looks like the interest rate cuts are all but locked in. Now it's just at how big they're going to be. And a very interesting kind of, I guess you could call it maybe leak of, if these interest rates get cut, it looks like they're going to be printing a ton of money. Anyways, guys, after this commercial break, we will talk about it.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
Hey guys, it's me again with BitKey ASMR. If you guys want to store your generational wealth, please buy our BitKey using promo code SIMPLY for 20% off. You want your grandma to leave you a dope inheritance of fat stacks of Bitcoin? Stop making me laugh. Buy a BitKey using promo code SIMPLY, using 20% off, and smash the like button if you would like me to do more ASMR.
Amazing. Amazing. I think that's what our new ad should be.
No, I think we should actually make ASMR on the page. Like, who wouldn't fall asleep to that?
You don't want them to fall asleep. You want them to buy things.
Well, that too. That too.
We will psyop you in your dreams like Inception, and you'll buy BitKeys using promo code SIMPLY. Okay. Anyways, and also, guys, I don't know what's going on here, so forgive the like 1 or 2 seconds where it bumps me. It keeps bumping me off.
I think it's bumping us, but it's
no. People are saying we got bumped off twice. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. The internet's been acting weird, and also everything's been weird since the AWS was down, so that might be it. Anyways, let's get to the news story. So first and foremost, we got to go back to the handy dandy US debt clock, guys. So the US national debt has officially crossed $38 trillion. And I think the math that I saw yesterday is we are essentially printing about $1 trillion every 180 days. So every what's that, 6 months? Every 6 months, we are adding $1 trillion to the national debt, which is just absolutely insane, just totally unsustainable. And of course, we'll go down here. You guys like to see this number. The U.S. total unfunded liabilities or unfunded debt is currently at 104, almost $105 trillion, guys. Totally not sustainable. And of course, your load of the debt is $110,000, or if you're a taxpayer, $327,000. Anyways, that was one of the news that came out this week. We have officially passed $38 trillion. And of course, most people are probably like, hey, man, you know, the modern monetary theorists like just print the money. What does it say? This is money we owe ourselves, or whatever. Debt is money we owe ourselves, and we can totally fix this. It's becoming clear and clear that there's no way to actually fix this. And further, if you really understand kind of the actions they're taking right now, you know, there's only one way that they think they can fix this is basically print their debt away. They're going to devalue the currency so much that the debt payments are basically non-existent. That's the inevitable goal here. And we constantly show you this stuff. So $38 trillion US debt. And of course, so we are the US, and we are US centric, but every other currency is downstream from the US. So
I have a question. If, you know, say that the Bitcoin bill that Senator Cynthia Lummis wants to pass, where, you know, we're buying 5 million Bitcoin, or what is it? 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years?
a million.
A million Bitcoin over 5 years. Say that passes and the United States actually decides to purchase Bitcoin. How would that, like, in how long would we presumably cut the debt? She claims that it would be cut in half.
I don't know.
In 20 years.
I mean, literally, we have no clue. We don't know where the Bitcoin's going. Doesn't seem like they're actually going to buy the Bitcoin. You know, it's a good narrative, but I don't know. It just, when you think about the technicals of it, it really stops making sense.
I mean, if they keep printing money, eventually, and this bill passes, eventually they would have to be, you know, eventually we would be forced into a Bitcoin standard.
Eventually they will print Bitcoin to $1 billion gazillion dollars, because fiat has no top or bottom. Fiat has no bottom, and so Bitcoin has no top.
The only way that you could do that is by making number go up to infinity,
which they do want to do. So anyways, $38 trillion US debt, totally unsustainable, obviously. But the other thing that came out is the inflation numbers, and they're a little happier about this. But all right, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on. It's acting. It's really fighting me today. Anyways, I'm over here on CNBC. The inflation rate hit 3% in September, lower than expected after the long-awaited CPI report shows. So consumer price index showed a 0.3% increase on the month, putting the annual inflation rate at 3%, both lower than expected. Excluding food and energy, again, the CPI numbers, and this is probably where we're going to really take this. So the CPI numbers,
food and energy is totally like,
that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The food prices and the energy prices, it doesn't matter. You know, you don't need that to live or anything. The real thing is about consumer spending here. That's what it really counts here. Anyways, excluding food and energy, core CPI showed a 0.2% monthly gain, and an annual rate also at 3%, also less than forecast. I mean, guys, look at the good news. It's less than they forecasted. So that's good, right?
0.1% less than they forecasted. Bull run is back, baby.
Yeah.
We are so back.
Anyways, going a little further, the BLS released the data specifically because the Social Security Administration uses it as a benchmark for cost of living adjustments and benefits checks. Otherwise, the federal government has suspended all data compilation. Now, I think that last point is probably 3%. Yeah, exactly. I think that last point is probably all of the signal. So they have been saying, or I have been hearing, that they're no longer going to be giving us the CPI numbers for the foreseeable future.
What?
That's kind of what I've seen some reports that's what it said. That they're only doing this because of the Social Security Administration needs this to, you know, get their numbers, their benchmark. So it looks like they're not even going to be recording the CPI, or rather, they'll record it. They just won't show you what it is. So there's that, you know, on the one hand, it's just like, all right, so we won't even know what the real numbers are. And wait, hold on. We know these aren't the real numbers, but we still won't even get the fake numbers. So, you know, there's that. I think that might be a telltale indicator of how healthy everything is from my perspective. Anyways, I do like Pomp's kind of take on this. And he goes, the government just reported inflation at 3%, but that is wrong. Truflation is showing inflation is actually at 2.3%. So it might be better. CPI is a broken and inaccurate metric. So stop looking at it. Obviously, as we've always been saying, it's CPI. It's not CPI. Those numbers are not real. The numbers are manipulated. They're basically just there to kind of paint the narrative that things are going well. So
when actually things are going
I mean,
worse.
like go to the grocery store. I know the CPI number doesn't include food or energy, but things are more expensive than ever. I don't know about you, but when I treat myself to a ribeye on the weekend, those things are like $27 a pound. And your boy gets a good ribeye, and I don't just get a pound. I got to eat like a pound and a half to like feel satiated.
Bro, where are you buying these ribeyes?
What's that place right by Whole Foods? Whole Foods got that danky.
God, you got to go to Sprouts.
I don't know where the Sprouts is. I'm still new out here. I'm still searching. Anyways, my real take on this though is, remember, I've been telling you guys for a while, and we've been seeing this indication, or rather this projection, that they are, and actually we heard one of the official, I'm blanking on who exactly it was right now, but they have come out and said that they are essentially going to normalize like a 3 to 4% inflation rate, that they're no longer going to hit that 2% target anymore, because one, they can't actually do it, and two, again, they're just going to normalize the inflation rate to 3 to 4%, get you used to that. So hey, inflation is lower than expected, but it's still at 3% by the fake numbers that they're giving us, which obviously is not good at all. So no longer are they, taking from your wealth, your store of value, 2% a year. Now, hey, just be happy with 3%. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as we thought it was. Like 3% is better than 4%, right, guys? We're only going to take 3% from you.
I've seen this story before.
Yeah.
My parents have seen this story before, and so many people here in Miami have seen this story before. We cannot be Venezuela, guys. This is getting bad, and getting normalized or getting accustomed to 1, 2, 3, 4%, whatever, is normal.
I got you.
You got it?
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, it's still acting weird.
This should absolutely not be normal, guys. As not normal as us getting booted out of our software.
Seriously, I don't know what's going on.
Again, we joke about it on the show, like they're gonna print money, they're gonna pump our bags, this is great. Everyone's like celebrating number go up, but you also have to remember that this makes the people who want to take your Bitcoin that much more powerful, and it gives them that much more leverage to take your keys. And this is just, we are entering, this is why Bitcoin was invented, right? This is why we are Bitcoiners, but at the same time, like, we got to live, right? And other people have to live. People who don't have Bitcoin have to live. So this is brutal.
And that's like the craziest part about this. If you aren't a Bitcoiner right now, it is starting to become like that which way Western man meme, where like you have the one guy on one side of the bus and he's looking at the cliff and he's like, he's being me, cynic and pessimistic. And then there's the other opti on the other side and he's happy and everything's doing good. If you aren't a Bitcoiner at this point, like I can, like, my heart really goes out to a lot of people. Like, it must be extremely hard to just survive and just do a normal job. And the money that you use, your currencies that you use, your savings, it's just all getting decimated. And I think the divide is going to just continue to increase, continue to get more and more. And this is where a lot of people say that, fiat money, the dollar eventually is just going to be like UBI money. It's just going to be like helicopter money. And if you aren't on Bitcoin, then you're really not going to have any autonomy. You're going to be stuck in that cage forever. There's no such thing as freedom, which really does lead into the last thing I want to talk about today is, in the culture, because I have one more thing, is the push for digital IDs. The push for digital IDs in the UK right now is like, it's hitting a fever pitch. And luckily enough, a lot of people are kind of fighting this. They're like, we don't want this. And it's funny how their narratives are shifting, but you're starting to see the foundations and the building blocks build, where if you aren't a Bitcoiner, if you aren't seeking true freedom and sovereignty, literally you might not ever escape the quote unquote matrix, as people like to say.
And let me tell you, it is far less painful. It will be far less painful to learn about self-custody and just sit down and try to get it than it will be trying to escape this matrix. Because every single day, as we're seeing through just this inflation story, it's going to get harder and harder to escape it.
Well, because, you're going to get less sats for your dollars.
Correct. Yeah. No, that's like, I mean, I was about to say that Bitcoin will become more and more valuable the more they print money, and your purchasing power will decrease with time. So it is much better to learn about self-custody now. Do your homework. It's not going to be impossible. If somebody like me could understand it, so can you.
Well, it took Nico a lot of arguments to get you to fully understand it.
It wasn't arguments. It took him answering a lot of questions. I was like a 3-letter agency on him, like
Yeah.
I was asking him all the questions, all the doubts, all the whatever, but then I understood. And taking the time to understand this stuff is going to be worth the short-term pain. It's a small sacrifice. It's a small price to pay for being able to survive this economy and have leverage on the people who want to essentially destroy you by keeping their power.
Yeah, and I actually saw a post. It had nothing to do with Bitcoin, but I think it's kind of relevant. And it said most people, and when it comes to money, like most people are kind of pushed more by losing than they are gaining. And by that it means, like, when you're talking about money, a lot of people are more incentivized by or rather more emotionally kind of connected to the idea of losing what little they have versus gaining a little more on top of it. And I was thinking about this in, like, of course, Bitcoin terms, and I'm not trying to like fear monger or anything like that, but like, it's a very easy parallel when you talk about Bitcoin. And instead of just like, talking about all the good things, which is what we constantly try to do, sometimes you do just have to be like, hey, man, like, whatever little you have, you're going to lose all of that. And it's literally like a biblical quote, those who have will have more, and those who have little, what little they have, that will be taken as well. And so when you're talking about with your friends and family, of like, how do I orange pill them the best? It's not about fear mongering, but you kind of do have to kind of, paint your argument in a way where they start to understand, like, oh, wow, like the money that I am using right now is losing value. It is essentially a hamster wheel, and there's no getting out of it. And so whatever you do have in the system right now, it could potentially be gone one day. And of course, with the move for CBDC and digital IDs that we're just about to talk about, it's like, it's no longer just theoretical. It's no longer just a conspiracy theory rabbit hole. Like, it is a reality right now. Anyways, I do want to put this in here before I move on. Sorry, my software is just really acting up on me. It just booted everything that I have. It is this, which I was telling you guys. It looks as if we are potentially going to see a lot of money be printed. So, sorry, wrong one. Here we go. So, Fiat Squawk posted last night that the U.S. Federal Reserve is most likely going to print $1.5 trillion following October and November interest rates cut. So, again, it looks like the interest rate cuts are completely locked in. The conversation now is, how much are they going to cut? Is it going to be 50 bits? Is it going to be another 25 bits? Some people have been speculating it's going to be 100, maybe 200. I think the 100, 200 is crazy. I think the kind of 50 bit is where it should be, but still, if we get two 50 bit rate cuts, October, November, like that's also unprecedented. But they are speculating they're going to print $1.5 trillion. And I really like this Eli 5 of TLDR Twitter account. He goes, I'll explain what's happening. That $1.5 trillion of, quote, money printing isn't a choice. Bank reserves are down to 9.71% of GDP, which the threshold is 10%, or it's like 9 point something or 10% is essentially how much the banks want in reserves compared to GDP. It's getting really, really kind of close to that point. That's very scary. James Lavish wrote a great newsletter about this. Anyways, the Fed's own safety net is again 10, 11. I saw it's like not, it's basically teetering right on the edge of where we are. They have to act or the system breaks. This is like the September 2019 repo crisis and maybe worse. And a cash shortage sent overnight lending rates from roughly 2% to 10% in hours. The Fed had to print money then too. Plus, the reverse repo facility, which is like a big cash buffer for the banks, is almost empty. It's basically gone now. So there's no backup when things go bad. Spoiler alert, they will call it a technical adjustment to keep people calm. It's not. It's an emergency injection to prevent a liquidity crisis.
Well, there's no backup for us, but historically, everybody else who caused this will get bailed out and will just continue as with business as usual.
Yeah, most likely. That is most likely what is going to happen. So, again, $38 trillion debt in the U.S. Inflation numbers are down-ish, but it's still at 3%. We're going to see some rate cuts. And now there's a rumor of they're probably going to print $1.5 trillion. They're going to print $1.5 trillion on top of the $1 trillion that they're printing every 180 days. So look, the liquidity, the devaluing, the debasement trade, the destruction of the dollar purchasing power, it's seemingly getting into overdrive right now. As all the Bitcoiners say, the big print is coming. They can't stop this train. We know what the inevitable outcome of this is. They have to keep printing money to keep the system going. Therefore, from our perspective, the thesis is this is why you need to hold hard assets. I know a lot of people like gold. From our perspective, we think Bitcoin is better. It's going to go up more. You can transact to anyone, anywhere, at any time around the world. It's the best money, period. Anyways, let's keep this going, and we're going to go into the culture and talk about what is going on around the digital ID. They are literally telling on themselves. I compiled a couple of clips. We're going to kind of, I don't know if I want to say expose, but expose the narrative change that we've seen. So we'll be right back after our last commercial break.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEDigitalTech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank. And you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth. And join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, guys, we are back. So, as I was telling you, obviously, we've been covering this push for digital IDs for a while. There's a tandem attack here, which is, of course, CBDCs and digital IDs, or as Nico likes to always say, it is Bitcoin or slavery. It is Bitcoin or a CBDC, digital ID, total panopticon world that is the horizon, either a world built on more freedom or a world where everything you do is completely tracked and bagged, completely, surveilled by some kind of AI organization. Well, I got this clip here. It was originally posted on Sky News, and it's the former Bank of England deputy John Cunliffe, I think, and he's talking about this Bitcoin initiative. So again, yeah. Oh God, exactly.
I'm nauseous. It's too much talk about stable coins.
Well,
and
this is more CBDC. But anyways, let's hear this clip, guys, because I think there's a lot of Freudian slips in this little short clip, something us Bitcoiners have been talking about for a long time. And when you hear them tell on themselves, you should probably listen to what they're saying, because it's not like we're Bitcoiners just reading into this anymore. They're literally saying what we've been saying. And we usually say it in a negative term, and they try to flip this in the positive term. So we'll play this clip, and then we're going to go down the Keir Starmer rabbit hole here.
At the moment, the Bank of England, we issue banknotes, the notes that everybody holds in their pocket, but we don't issue any money in digital form. So when you pay with a card or with your phone on a digital transaction, you're actually using your bank account. You're transferring money from your bank account to somebody else's. A central bank digital currency, a digital pound, would actually be a claim on the Bank of England issued by us directly to the public. And these new forms of money offer the ability for them to be integrated more with other things through their software. So you can think of smart contracts in which the money would be programmed to be released only when something happened. You could think, for example, of giving your children pocket money, but programming the money so that it couldn't be used for sweets. There's a whole range of things that money could do, programmable money as it's called, which we can't do with the current technology.
Sounds so benign. Sounds so sweet. It sounds like such a good thing for parents, guys. You don't want your kid to eat some sweets. Hey, program your money.
I would never disrespect my children that way. I would never disrespect them and have such little faith in them. They think we're children. They literally just said they think that you are a child that needs to be controlled. That is absurd. You know how much money in taxes people pay in the UK? That is insane to me. That they are trying. Programmable money used to be a thing that, people would kind of joke about, actually, at the beginning. They're like, oh, like, what if the day comes where you want to take a road trip with your family? And they're like, no, you don't have the social credit to purchase enough gas for your car. They are saying that out loud. It is no longer a conspiracy theory, and you should be terrified. You should be terrified. I don't even understand how Keir Starmer has the political capital to pull something like this
Well, we haven't got
off.
to Keir Starmer yet, but that's where this is going.
Well, it is, because he's the prime minister. So how does he pull something like this off? He doesn't have political capital for this. After everything that country is going through, I can't even believe that they're going here.
Yeah, so again, when they tell on themselves, listen to what they're saying. And this does lead into the more recent social media barrage by Keir Starmer. So here we go. Let me go to the first one. Again, guys, I've been telling you this, especially since we're in media. We're Bitcoin. I like to jokingly and very seriously say we're in Bitcoin propaganda. Obviously, we have a bias. We're pro Bitcoin. We see what's coming on the horizon. And so when you see kind of media narrative shift, it tells you, a lot of things about what's going on. And the most recent shift that we've seen is how they are painting digital IDs. Obviously, at first, CBDCs, and on the other side is this idea of like, oh, you know, we need to update better payments. Like, you need better payments, guys. Like your PayPal and whatever Zelle isn't good enough. And of course, that narrative was tried to combat what Bitcoin is. They always frame Bitcoin as it's, oh, a new payment vehicle. It's like, why do we need a new payments vehicle? Well, now they flipped it and they're like, hey, we need to update our system to get into the 21st century for better payments. Well, we're seeing something similar happen with digital IDs. And I've been pointing it out to you guys on the show constantly. It's shifted from you know, you can stop the bad things that you don't like coming into our country, to now, hey, your life's going to be way easier if you use a digital ID, guys. It's all about convenience. But check out this clip that just dropped. I believe it was last night or yesterday.
I'm appalled. I'm literally sitting here appalled because I knew that this was a possibility, but I never thought that it could actually be talked about in a serious way. And it makes me more angry at ourselves than it does at these politicians, because it just shows that we have become so complacent. We have become such sheep that we are willing to go along with this because people just don't care that we allow this to happen. We have such little respect for ourselves, given what has happened in the last 5 years, that they think that they can do this to us. It's absurd. It's disgusting and it's appalling. And I just refuse to believe that we can let this happen.
Well, all right, love it.
I'm angry.
Let's check out this next clip here. And here is Keir Starmer's Twitter account, where he frames this as digital ID as the potential to transform our day-to-day life. Yeah, we know, just not in the way that you're talking about. But here, let's watch this clip.
So I'm in Brighton today. This is Barclays Bank, and I've been talking to customers about digital ID, and they're really enthusiastic. It'll have your basic information on it. For everything other than proving you've got a right to work, it won't be mandatory. You don't have to have it, but you can have it. You can use it for anything that requires identification, and there are lots of things. If you want to rent, for example, if you want to apply for a mortgage, if you want to get your child into primary school, there's a catchment area, and you've got to show where you live, proving who you are, what your date of birth is, will just be able to be done with digital ID. They're really up for it. I think once you understand just how much easier it'll make life, so many more people will be too.
Yes, I'm super chill. Hey, the kids want it. The kids are up for this.
The kids are totally up for it. You know why?
No, that kid looked like a hostage. I'm not gonna lie. He looked like a hostage.
That
there,
kid
but
looks like he's in the middle of an indoctrination camp. Because that's what this is. Like, if your kid is being told in whatever institution, I don't care if that's church or school or whatever, that this is a good thing, that any government or institution other than the family institution can have control over them, they need to be removed immediately. I'm sorry. That's my hot take of the day. Like, these are supposedly the people who vouch for fairness, equality, and they're literally using this technology so that you could be judged on the merits, which they've completely made up out of thin air. It's the merits of your life. This is called implementing a social credit score. This is called absolute control of your life. And this ties back to the original story that we were covering at the beginning of the show. Why does BlackRock want your Bitcoin? Why does JP Morgan want your Bitcoin? Why is the government suddenly seizing Bitcoin, and the UK as well? Don't forget that they also had that huge operation that they seized from scammers. In the name of law enforcement, great. Give that money back to the victims. They won't. They likely will not. And if they do, they will give it to you in the fiat garbage that they know is absolutely worthless because they can just make it up out of thin air, and they will hold the power indefinitely. You cannot let them do this. The only way that you can do this, the only way that you can escape Bitcoin or slavery, is by taking the side of Bitcoin, going the narrow path, which is difficult. It's inconvenient. They will sell you X, Y, and Z so that you don't do it, so that you can give them power. And they will dress it up like a wolf in sheep's clothing. But the results of that are going to be that your children will be serfs. Your children will be enslaved, and they will be under the thumb of the children who set this system up. So do not fall for it. This is just another way for them to control you.
Mama Bear on the prowl today. Let's go. Okay, now going further, let's see his other barrage of tweets.
Oh God, there's more.
Yeah, there's more.
There's more.
There's more. He went super hard last night.
God.
The digital ID will bring the UK into the modern age. Okay, bro. And then he goes, I recently spoke with someone buying a house with her partner. She told me that she had to pay just to verify who she was. With digital ID, that could be done in seconds. So wipe out the cost. Digital ID will save you time and money. Okay, again, some more pictures.
Wait. Read the community note.
Okay, the community note is AML checks are a legal requirement to verify the buyer and seller. Why this verification is mandatory. The practice of charging buyers is not standard. Some estate agents do charge buyers for AML checks, though third-party providers, but others perform the checks at no cost. Okay, going further. Another one. It's frustrating having to rummage around in a drawer looking for an old electricity bill just to open a new bank account. Digital IDs will make our lives easier.
Has this man heard of email?
Okay.
Email. Guess what? A lot of those bills are found online here.
And further, he says, this will empower people every single day by giving you a new way to prove who you are, saving time and money when you apply for a mortgage by cutting down unnecessary paperwork, proving your right to rent in one click, personalized public services like helping parents claim eligibility for free childcare and nursery places. It's time to put power back in people's hands and bring the UK into the modern age.
You see what I mean by they always do this. People who want to take power like this, they always do this. They use these fancy words of like putting power back in your hands. You just have to assume at this point that everything they say, they actually mean the complete and total opposite. When they say put power back in your hands, what they actually mean is that they are taking power away from your hands. When they say that they want equality for all and equity and whatever, what they're saying is that they want more power and the balance of power to be completely on their side. Do not believe a word these people say. They are lying to you, and it's proven in their actions. Look at what they're trying to do. And the only way that we will not let them is by having more leverage than they do. And I just can't think of any other way to do that than to basically opt out of the system. And that doesn't just mean Bitcoin sometimes. Like, do it in whatever way that you want, but stop giving these people power by legitimizing their systems, because they are using it against you, and eventually they will use it to control your children. I'm telling you, I see it. I see it with my friends. I see it with the way that they fight me on this. They are living in a completely different world than you and I are. They are living in the world where they still believe that the institutions and the government is right, that the government will protect them. And they cannot fathom that, in any reality, that it could ever be turned against them.
Bars. Okay, so you guys could go check his Twitter if you want. He did a bunch of these tweets. Though, as I looked for, I was looking for Keir Starmer and this whole digital ID kind of social media barrage. It did start to bring up a lot of digital ID posts on my timeline, and so it looks like the British people are looking at this and think it's just as ridiculous as those Bitcoiners. So there is an active push against it. The just say no kind of always pops up in my head when we start talking about stuff like just say no to a digital ID. That's
dare.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to create a dare program, but
Just say no to fiat. Just say no to digital IDs. Just say no to CBDCs. But again, it is interesting that it's all being framed like for your convenience. The narratives have shifted now to it's for your convenience. And I also saw a couple of other things as I was telling you in my timeline. It was popping up because I did search for the digital ID Keir Starmer stuff this morning. So it got propagated in my thread or in my timeline. And I saw another clip of his. I didn't want to bring it up because the context wasn't the exact same. But essentially, they are also talking about, or maybe it was another Freudian slip, that you will essentially be fined, and you guys can fact check me, but this is what the clip was saying, that you would be fined essentially $85 now is one of the new narratives if you don't use a digital ID. So not just that there's going to be AML from your real estate agent, but if you don't use the digital ID, they're starting to propagate this idea that you're going to get fined $85. So, for your convenience and of course for your pocketbooks, you should just get a digital ID because you don't want to get a fine.
My question is, or what? Don't pay the $85 or don't pay the $85 or what? What are they going to do to you? Are they going to cut your electricity? Are they going to take away your home? Are they going to, pull you down on the social credit score that will inevitably come from all of that? Will they cut your access to gas and, travel? What are they going to do? What are they going to do that they haven't done before this? How far are they willing to take it?
Well, it reminds me of this crazy thing that happened in 2020, and I'm sure there's going to be some parallels here.
I've been alluding to it, but since I'm not allowed to say a lot of things on this show,
remember this time in 2020? It was kind of crazy.
It was really, really nuts.
Yeah,
and
it was kind of nuts.
If you think that was crazy,
yeah, this next push
is digital ID.
That could have been.
They already tried with this one medical device that but now a digital ID that's just gonna take it to a
2020 was
level.
2020 was the beta test, and now we have the real test, and it is all about coercion and total control, guys. That's literally what it is. And it, again, it looks like a lot of people are seeing it for what it is. And again, I saw one other thing that was pretty interesting is that apparently when they launched kind of like the initial, inquiry about how actually secure the digital ID system was, they realized that basically like it was just some random programmers like in Romania with no actual access, from the British government. And then they realized that someone, if they wanted to, could basically drop malware on it, and the actual British government wouldn't even be able to detect it. So like it's not even a secure system, and they're trying to roll it out and basically tell you guys this is going to be better for you, and the coding is trash here. So just say no. I'm sure, hey, this is in the UK currently. We've seen it kind of go around in Australia, of course. There's been a lot of talks about it already happening in China. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see something similar enter the US or other parts of the world. So we know where it's going.
No, that I'm not even going to say it because that's just such a basic thing to say. That would never happen in the US. It could. It very much could, especially if, these power hungry people don't get their fix of power. But I just want to, this is a turning point. This is part of the fourth turning. This is part of the results of disruptive technology. It's part of the results of what happens when we try to fight them. They fight us back. And right now we're seeing they fight us back.
100%. 100%. So that's the show for today, guys. And I know, like,
gives you something to talk about at dinner tonight.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Talk with your families. Share this show with your friends. Share this show with your aunties and uncles. Start a debate. Debate is healthy. We love more speech.
No. Don't argue with your family. Don't start a debate.
Not a debate. You know what I mean.
Sophie loves debating with everyone.
Dinner
so.
table conversation.
I don't know if this is dinner table combo, but
well,
just be
definitely
aware.
makes it interesting.
It definitely makes it in. Be aware, guys. But I mean, like I know we're ending the Friday show on a little of a doomer, doomer pill kind of show. But this is why we're Bitcoiners. Like we do have the tools at our disposal, and of course, the community around Bitcoiners and open source development and the freedom movement as well. Like it isn't all doom and gloom. Like it isn't all lost. There's still time to get more people to wake up. And I think it's upon every single one of us. So this is why we do what we do here on the show, with the hopes of trying to get as many people on YouTube to understand what the stakes are and where we are right now. We do have Bitcoin. So first of all, the best thing you can do is obviously take as much of your wealth out of the system as you can. Make sure you are protecting yourself from this potential future where you might get cut off from your money. There might be a programmable money that's used against you. They might not allow you to go shopping at the grocery store or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like you want to ensure that you are insulated from this as much as possible, which is, where you live, what your job is, what your money is, how you secure that money. And of course, all the various kind of products that we had on the show to, if potential, there is some kind of crazy event again, you will be as safe and protected as possible, obviously. So it isn't all bad. We still have Bitcoin, guys. We still have that beachhead, and I think humanity's gonna win, man. I think freedom's gonna win. The good guys always win. Good wins in the end. I guess the good guys don't necessarily always win, but good does win in the end. It's been foretold. So, guys, you already know the deal. Make sure you're stacking sats, taking that Bitcoin into self-custody. Make sure you're fit, healthy. Go get some sun, touch some grass, eat some good food, call your loved ones, all that good stuff. It's not all bad. The internet maybe makes you think everything is bad, but when you talk to, your friends and your loved ones and you go outside and you realize that, hey, the Twitter isn't necessarily real life, like the trees are still there and the sun's nice and life is great. So still some hopefulness, still a little bit of optimism, even though I know, guys, I've been kind of a cynic all week. I was sick. I now I know what it means like to be pregnant.
I literally don't even want to hear it because you got me sick and I have not felt great all week.
No. The baby got me sick. Me sick.
But if you guys love us and love that we've been here, even though we've been feeling terrible for the past week, smash the like button, share the show with your friends, subscribe to our channel. That really helps us. It helps us keep the lights on, as they say. And join our new membership program on YouTube. We also have some new merch that we are not shilling today, but is up live on our website, simplybitcoin.com. You can get the "This Is Not a Negotiation" t-shirt, as well as some other fun doodle t-shirts that we have launched. We also have the cream hat, which we see behind Opti, and some other really, really cool things, as well as the return of the cream hoodie. So if you want to support us, if you love what we do, go check us out at www.simplybitcoin.com. Join our membership, smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and have I got cut off.
All right, later, guys. We'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. We love you guys. On that note, peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.